Welcome into Live Before Lock for UFC 276, which starts 1 hour from now inside the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Of course, we are headlined by two title fights. Izzy defending the middleweight title against Cannonier, and then we get the trilogy matchup between Volk and Holloway. We are here to break this one down for you over the next hour. We'll be answering all the questions that you do have. And of course, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Hopefully you took advantage of some of those props over there at Prize Picks last night in terms of that PFL. I know I took advantage of some of those fight time props over there. So we'll talk a little about Prize Picks here later on in the show. Of course, as always, I am joined by the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, good afternoon, bro. How's it going?
What is going on? Just 4th of July weekend, supposed to have thunderstorms all day today. Turned it out to be a sunny day, so all the plans were canceled for no reason. So a little unfortunate, but we do have some fights tonight, so I can't wait to watch them.
Of course, as I mentioned, if you got any questions, line those up there over, whether it's in our Discord chat, if you're a Stokastic Plus member, or right here in the YouTube chat. Of course, as always, if you throw us a super chat, your question will go to the top of the queue. But Pete, let's talk about, first off, roster construction, and let's start from the GPP perspective, because I know that obviously that's what majority of people are playing over here. Like, to me, as I was developing lineups this morning, my first thought was, there were certain fights that I wanted to make sure I got to. Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone is one of those fights I want to get to just because of how I see that fight going. Other fights that stuck out to me that I wanted to get to are the main event, co-main event. I almost feel like you sit there and if you're running crunches, you tell the cruncher, give me at least one out of four of these guys. And then there's some other fights that, like, I look at the Jalen Turner Brad Riddell matchup. To me, that's another critical fight in terms of GPPs.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to start this DFS slate, and like a lot of my buddies are doing parlays today, and I don't think it's a parlay day. I really don't. I think it's a hedge type of day where you want to figure out, go fight by fight, figure out which fight you want to target and how you think the most likely outcomes can come through. So, like, for instance, Stoliarenko via submission is, if she wins, that's probably how it's going to happen. On the flip side, Jessica Rose Clark via decision makes a ton of sense. But for DFS, right, like, just of how the prices are, it's really, really hard for me to get away from the co-main event, Jason. Just like, the co-main event really sticks out to me. I don't know, man. Like, one way or another, I think Alex Volkanovski is going to break that 9,000 price tag, and Max Holloway is just too cheap. I know, like, we both thought that he performed a little bit better than what his box score states in the first two encounters against Alex Volkanovski, scoring 53 and 42. It's just really tough for me to get away from it, right? Like, because let's say Volkanovski's dominant, he's priced as one of the best pound for pound 9,000 options out there, right? Like, I'm no way I'm paying 9,100 for Macy Barber. So targeting the correct fights is important. And I also think, like, getting to one of the 5-round fights is, I'd have to say, it's dire on a slate like this. Like, fading Adesanya and also fading the co-main event, to me, would be crazy.
Interesting thing coming in here.
Oh,
so
boy.
Apparently on Izzy's YouTube, I don't know if maybe Tyler, you can look at, I think it's like a 14-minute video, so I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but apparently Eugene Behrman will not be in the corner of the city kickboxing fighters, saying undisclosed reasons.
Okay, well,
that's interesting if the head coach isn't there.
It's a big city kickboxing night too. So, I mean, we got Volk, you got Izzy, and you also have Brad Riddell. So you're talking about other coaches and other teammates having to step up and not having the Faraz Zahabi, if you will, of the entire stable is a little troublesome. I don't know how to take that. I don't want to overreact because fighters are going to be prepped. But if anything happens and, throughout a fight, some of the best advice is going to be outside the octagon. So that's a little worrisome.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that to see maybe if anything pops up in terms of that. But that's to me, a very interesting development. I just want to pop up my tweet deck up here so I can kind of see maybe something pops up there. But I know just doing a little Google search, or excuse me, a Twitter search that came up. So we'll try to we'll try to keep an eye on that one. In terms of roster construction for on the cash side of the equation, Pete.
Yep.
It is hard for me to avoid Max Holloway.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And even if you don't necessarily believe that he's going to win the bout, it's a salary play, right? And having a cheap fighter who is notoriously tough, and these guys have gone the distance twice already. So inside the distance play, I don't think it's impossible because, at any time the damage could be too much and we could see one of these guys get knocked out. But the over 4.5 is tempting. So with all that being said, when you have the co-main event fighter priced at 7,200, naturally he's going to be one of the most popular cash plays. Just because if he survives 4 to 5 rounds, even in a losing effort, he's going to do enough to allow you to get to some of these other studs on the card. Now, the question is, do you stack it? I did make some stacks, and I need a lot to go right in order for Volkanovski to pay off that 9,000 price tag and Holloway at 7,200. But I do think a stack is viable this week.
Yeah, to me, it was very tough to get there. Now, of course, when we did the strategy show on Thursday, the FanDuel salaries were not out. The FanDuel salaries are out now. And, looking at the salaries in terms of this one, what does stick out to me is the co-main event of Volkanovski and Holloway. $22 for Volk, I don't think it's bad. We expect him to be up there. $15 for Holloway, to me, not a bad one. The Pereira and Strickland, both $16 for Strickland, $15 for Alex. I mean, look, if Strickland can go the takedown route, that thing does stick out to me. By the way, CS and Sam, I appreciate you in the super chat. Of course, you guys got any questions, hit those up over there. Brad Riddell at $14 could be an interesting play over on FanDuel if he goes the takedown route. Even though he is a striking coach there at City Kickboxing, we have seen him go to takedown route in times there. Donald Cerrone at $10 definitely sticks out over on FanDuel for me. And maybe if you're looking for another cheap play, even though I do like the other side of this fight, Brad Tavares at $11.
Yeah, so for FanDuel, we want guys that are going to get a finish, obviously, and if they are a talented striker, it definitely opens our eyes a little bit more on this platform. So Uriah Hall being bare bones $8 is interesting just because if he wins, it's by, keeping the fight on the feet, making Andre Muniz work and, hitting him with some shots and KOing him, similar to how Muniz has been knocked out on the regional scene. Do I think that's likely to happen? No, I don't. But if a fighter in this bottom tier is going to win, we want them to score well. And I do think on the platform on FanDuel that Uriah Hall needs to be in your long shot pool, definitely. Now, as far as like value play, who I think could be in a competitive fight is Gabe Green at $10. I understand that he's going up against Ian Gary, who is a phenomenal prospect within the sport. Didn't really look all that great in his debut. And then even just in his last bout against Darian Weeks, he didn't look spectacular. He didn't really solidify any rounds, didn't put a stamp on anything. And I think that this could be competitive. The issue with Gabe Green is how reckless he is at times and how hittable. So where Pedro Munoz is live, Gabe Green is live. They're both extremely hittable for their divisions. And I worry about them just being punching bags throughout.
Yeah, it's there's some interesting plays over there on FanDuel. Let's move over to the DraftKings Captain Contest. I know we get these questions about that DraftKings Captain Contest, and I've got some entries over there today. And the thing that sticks out to me today about the salaries is, man, it is tough as hell to avoid Max Holloway at his price point over there in that Captain Contest at 5,400. I do potentially like stacking him and Volk over there in the captain's contest, but I did find myself as a captain liking Sean O'Malley at 13,800. On the Izzy side, I don't mind getting there as a captain play as well. He is the most expensive. My concern is what happens if it is a low volume fight.
Yeah, I mean, all fair points, right? And as you just mentioned, Max Holloway is just ridiculously cheap on any DraftKings platform, whether it's the captain contest or the regular slate. on FanDuel, they priced him up. So it's not necessarily a FanDuel play if you don't think he's going to be victorious. On the showdown, the captain contest, 5,400 is just too cheap to get away from for most of your lineups. Like Cannonier could knock out Adesanya, but I'd much rather get the Holloway. And I don't know, man. I think that there's some intrigue. I think it's difficult, truthfully. I think this captain contest this week is one where you can typically get an edge. But when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at a ton of GPP fights. Like I really am. Like the Brad Tavares, Dricus du Plessis, everybody's all over Dricus du Plessis because they think he's going to knock out Brad Tavares. Definitely could happen. Tavares looks competitive and strong throughout. I just worry about his durability. The Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone one, it's like, where do you start for this captain contest? And who do you feel like extremely confident in? If I had to really plant my flag of all these fighters of who I'm absolutely confident in, it's got to be Adesanya.
By the way, Eugene Berriman apparently was in Atlanta last night for the PFL event. So maybe that's a situation of he's flying back to Vegas, which I interviewed Danny Sabatelli yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, so Mike Brown last Friday corners him and Johnny Eblen.
Yep.
They enjoyed some fine quality cocktails. Mike got a couple hours of sleep.
Yep.
Woke up at 3 a.m.
Is in Vegas the next day.
Drives to Hartford, flies to Vegas to corner Gamrot, the main event of the UFC show.
Yeah, Mike Brown's the man. When I got to work with Mike Brown, I loved every second of it. I tried to be a sponge. He's such a good guy. And as far as Eugene Berriman, it would make sense because Jenna Fabian was on the PFL show and she didn't do so well. And she might actually be hurt because she got pretty hurt in that bout. So it would make sense that he's probably sticking to her, or it could be like you said, the conflict of travel.
Let me mention this question over from Sam over in the super chat. He says, opinion on my DK roster captain, Jalen Turner, du Plessis, Holloway, Miller, O'Malley, Alex Pereira, or Captain O'Malley, Green, Miller, Strickland, Turner, Volkanovski, or best DK. Looking at that, I don't mind that Jalen Turner's a captain. I think that's definitely a way to get kind of different from maybe a O'Malley, which I do think will be a little bit. I would say I would probably prefer your captain Jalen Turner lineup as opposed to the captain Sean O'Malley, just because of liking the odds on the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I like pieces of both of them, right? I think that Jalen Turner can definitely pose a problem for Brad Riddell, given his size for the division and how hard he hits. But the one thing I think of is like how Matt Frivola found success against Jalen Turner. Yes, Jalen Turner hits really hard, has sneaky submissions as well. But if you look back on his career, he's been knocked out on the regional scene. And I do think that Brad Riddell, the striking coach for City Kickboxing, or one of the best strikers in the room, can find a way to test that chin to see if it's still a problem. I view that fight like it's a closer fight than what I feel like people are, projecting. I do think that the winner of that matchup scores well. So I kind of like the Turner one, even though I'm a Brad Riddell guy, just because of how I see that fight ending inside the distance.
Jordan, I appreciate you in the super chat. He says Munoz or Barber. If you want to get away from, Munoz is going to be by far the more popular play in that situation. Munoz definitely has first round upsides, but if I prefer to get to the Munoz route, but if you wanted to make an ownership play, it'd be Macy Barber.
Yeah, so for me, it's Andre Muniz. No way, for me personally, that I'm going to pick Macy Barber over him, just because I do think that the grappling is just incredible. And truth be told, I really almost planted my flag and said that Jessica I could beat Macy Barber. I think that there are some overrated hype machines on this card, and anytime that the UFC hype machine gets behind certain fighters, recency bias is a real thing, and we forget about how competitive some of these fights can be. Ian Gary's, I think, a UFC hype machine. And I do think that Macy Barber is as well, because outside of her early career finishes inside the UFC, we've seen her a little bit more humanized, you know what I mean? And she can be tested, and I do think that Jessica I is a difficult test.
By the way, Tyler just hit me up in our chat saying that Baron, he watched the video of Izzy and saying that Berriman would be there leading up to the fight based on the video. But it did sound like he would be there for the fight. So obviously that's good news for the City Kickboxing team in terms of that. Of course, I appreciate everyone here on a Saturday. We are just under 45 minutes away from lock. Of course, be sure to smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to Stokastic right here on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you know when a video is live here on the channel. Of course, if you're not a Stokastic Plus member, today's free premium data and tools are MLB ownership projections and UFC pro play. So be sure to check out that. My filler, I appreciate you in the super chat. You guys, hey guys, been doing pretty well in Prize Picks WNBA. Can you give me a 4-play power play that I can put 200 on today? Greatly appreciated. I will tell you, I've got a 5 leg out there that I've already got 2 of the 3 legs have been done. I went heavy on fight time on Prize Picks here this week.
Yep.
But there are some other ones that did stick out to me. Just pulling up Prize Picks here. I do like the under 12.5 on Sean O'Malley. I do. Okay. I liked when it was 10 minutes fight time on the Strickland fight. Now it's 11.5. That one's, I might say, and I say the under on Izzy at 22.5 still kind of sticks out to me. The one on the takedowns that I do like is the under 1.5 Jessica Rose Clark.
I mean, Fight IQ and Jessica Rose Clark, I feel like the under should be the correct reason, because her coaches should say, literally stay away from the guard of Stoliarenko. But I just don't trust Jessica Rose Clark to do so, because I think that the boxing will be competitive. And how does she win rounds? She believes in her wrestling, and she likes to, get top position and kind of stall out in moments. For me, right, like if I'm looking at Prize Picks, I do think that the Robbie Lawler one is pretty spot on. 73.5 significant strikes. I like the over on that. I do think that it's going to be a war, super competitive. I'm okay with getting to that. And even Israel Adesanya 80.5. Cannonier for the most part is durable, and I do think that there is a chance he gets knocked out, but it could be later rather than early. Izzy's not really a super aggressive guy. He's going to take his time, play with his food a little bit, find the correct spot, and can capitalize on it. So, I mean, Prize Picks is super fun. I wish I was able to do it more frequently, and shout out to them. They're getting involved any way that they can. And I like getting to it. It's the Sean Strickland one or the Jim Miller one is I probably just avoid and think that Jim Miller is going to be looking to test the chin of Cowboy and not looking to take him down. So I probably take the under on the takedown approach. I would tell you on the fantasy score aspect, if you think Andre Muniz is going to get a first round submission, you just take the over 105.5, because you get 100 points for a first round win, 5 points for a submission. So then you basically only need one significant strike. So, the other one, if you think Jim Miller's going to win the first round, 91.5, I think that's another good one to throw out there. Vince, appreciate your super chat. He says, thanks for the weekly grind and sharing the wisdom. Best of luck today, finishing second place. Do you guys like Strickland today? In my hand builds, I found myself getting to Strickland, but also I put myself in a scenario where it was an easy swap if I wanted to go to Alex. Yeah, I mean, the salaries are so close, right? And I kind of view that fight, again, this week. There are some weeks where I'm super confident in how fights are going to play out. But when this week is largely due to fight IQ and game plans, you have to build accordingly. So like I built PEGADA lineups because I do think that in a striking matchup, he's going to significantly look like the better striker against Sean Strickland. I think that he can bury leg kicks, hit him with a shot that he doesn't see coming, capitalize on some of the technical flaws that Strickland has. If Strickland is smart and he's trying to, move up the ranks, he goes out there, he double legs Pereira, he gets a first round submission, second round submission before Pereira can even get into the fight. It's just what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And it's kind of a situation for me where I'm just building lineups accordingly. for both situations. So I said it to my boys. I said it's a hedge week. I do think it's a hedge week. I truthfully do.
Yeah, no, with you there. Let's talk about Takedown City, the fighters with Takedown Upside. Obviously, we're talking more about the DraftKings side of the equation here because of that control time. I mentioned about Brad Riddell as potentially kind of a sneaky Takedown City. I mean, look, I think you got to look at Volkanovski. We saw it in his second fight against Holloway. He did score 3. I mean, Holloway did take down Yair Rodriguez a couple times in his last fight. Just mentioned about Sean Strickland. To me, he's another one. Pedro Munoz, to me, is if Pedro's going to win that fight, bro, make this a jiu-jitsu fight. Try to get that matchup to the ground there. Outside of that, obviously Muniz sticks out to me. And if you're Storolenko, I think that's where you want to try to get there. But I mean, I just don't want to get that first fight. I just found myself just really not getting there.
We know you hate that first fight of the night.
Well, I mean, like, look, I'm looking at our ownership projection of that fight, and I want to get there, Pete. I really do. But I can't. It's the thing of when we're talking about on the DraftKings side of the equation, the race to 650, 675. Can I get there with Jessica Rose Clark at 8,600?
I mean, she's priced if she gets 10 minutes of control time, and that may seem like it's an exaggeration, but if she just minds her P's and Q's and stays out of the dangerous armbar attempts, she could literally just ground and pound her way to a decision and rack up some takedowns. But for me, the easy pick is Andre Muniz from a takedown standpoint. Uriah Hall, typically strong takedown defense or decent takedown defense. I just think that what Muniz is going to do is he's going to leave him no room and he's going to suffocate the striker. So I viewed that fight as a GPP priority. Got to Uriah Hall plenty, but Muniz, if you're asking for Takedown City, that's going to be my cop out answer, and I'm going to say Andre Muniz at 9,200.
Got to let everyone know about the great deal we got going on right now over at Stokastic.com. If you've never been a Stokastic Plus member, right now is a great time to sign up. Get 50% off your first month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Of course, that gives you access to everything we have over at Stokastic.com. You can hit that video, the link in the video description, or you can use that promo code MMALBL, all caps, one word, MMALBL, for 50% off your first month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Now, this is for new users only, and these are the same tools that myself and Pete and everyone here at Stokastic.com are using every single day, whether we're making our MMA lines or making our MLB lines, whatever DFS sport is out there, we have got you covered. Of course, when you hit the MMA LBL, that lets everyone here at Stokastic.com know you about heard from here on the MMA Live Before Lock show. Of course, that Top Fire tool is a tool that I'm using. Look, we're in this stretch. We got UFC shows every week. You get MLB every day. It's a great time to be a Stokastic Plus member. And of course, this is for new users only. And that Top Fire tool, highly recommended. I go in there, I export it out in Excel, put it in Excel, and I start kind of figuring out how I want to develop my lineups for today's slate here. Let's get a couple more super chats in here before we move over to the next topic here. As first off, let's go. Jorge says, thoughts on Andre Muniz for DraftKings, large GPP, exposing him a lot on 150 lineups. I mean, look, I think Andre Muniz, Pete, is a super talented fighter. I mean, crazy gifted on the ground with his submissions. But the one thought I have is, what happens if he can't get this to the ground? Can he beat Uriah Hall in a kickboxing matchup?
Nah, I mean, he shouldn't have to do that. He should be testing every single takedown defense that Uriah Hall has. Test his single leg defense, test his body lock, his double leg, test everything, work towards taking the back. And that's where, like, a lot of people underestimate what a jiu-jitsu guy can do. Is it's not shooting the traditional wrestling takedowns. It's sneaking towards that back position where they can backpack you or just simply trip you to the mat. And now you're in such a terrible position. And it literally could be like a score of 98. That is my fear of Andre Muniz winning and not like having too many takedowns, in doing so, and just being right outside that first minute. I like Uriah Hall from a finishing standpoint. Sean Strickland took Uriah Hall down 4 of 6 times. Antonio Carlos Jr., phenomenal BJJ guy as well, found to fall in love with his hands throughout his career. Now in the PFL, you see him just basically going toward tailoring his game around his strengths, and landed 3 of 8 takedowns against Uriah Hall. Nobody wants to stand up with Uriah Hall. Not many strikers are going to do what Sean Strickland did. So I think he can land 1, and that might be it. He just needs 1. When you have some specialists like this on the mat, they just need 1 takedown, and they can be, as long as the clock is on their side, you need some exposure there.
Sam with the super chat goes, what do you think is the best DK captain that'll be under the radar captains? There's Donald Cerrone.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a 50-50 fight probably. I do prefer Jim Miller side of it, but that to me would be an under the radar type guy to go to. Maybe a Brad Riddell.
So I will be losing my mind if my boy Cowboy wins, because I would love nothing more than for that to happen. The issue is that performance against Jim Miller was back in 2014, and it was a second round KO, and he scored 96 fantasy points. And, he attempted 2 takedowns, and he ended up defending 5 takedowns. So Jim Miller did not like what Cowboy brought to the table in the stand-up department. I do think that Jim Miller is a little bit more dangerous of a striker nowadays. Very good leg kicks, strong boxing. And, if Cowboy's recent stretch is anything, you want to hop on him early. But as this fight gets stretched out, man, I think it favors Cowboy. So I'm with you. That's an under the radar. And that's a group that I would get to on Stokastic.com, making sure that I get to that fight.
Best plays under 8K over on DraftKings. Donald Cerrone's is one of the ones that I think you have to consider there. Max Holloway, 7,200. Sean Strickland, 7,900, particularly if he does go with the takedown route there. Other ones that I know you talked about Gabe Green. I know some of the comments were, maybe question a little bit of there on the Gabe Green, thought process there. I really don't want to get to Jessica I just can't trust her. But if Uriah Hall keeps on the feet, I don't think he's a bad play at 7,000.
Yeah. I mean, I have exposure everywhere. Right. And, I do think that people are somewhat sleeping on my boy, Brad Riddell. I understand now how good Jalen Turner is, but like Brad Riddell's not just a striker. He attempted 11 takedowns against Drew Dober, landed 5 of them. I mean, MMA math doesn't always work out, and it shouldn't, because it's a stupid way to analyze fights. But Matt Frivola, in my opinion, is not the same fighter that Brad Riddell is. I view Brad Riddell in such higher regard. So I think that he's getting a little bit slept on this week. And Gabe Green too. It's going up against, like I said, UFC hype beast and hype machine. And I don't like his striking defense, and I did not like how he was dropped against Johan Lioness, and he's been finished in the past. But if anything Gary has shown, it's that he can get outworked at times, and he can get bullied at times. And Darian Weeks having success against you, you're this prospect, man. I didn't think that he looked all that great. So I'm going to have a cop-out answer and say that Gabe Green's somebody that I'm eyeing as well.
Boom bust plays. There is one fighter that I think I would classify as a boom bust play.
One fighter.
Yes. If he goes well.
Barberena.
No.
Who?
Andre Muniz.
Okay.
If he can't get the takedown, he can't make this a grappling matchup, I think he struggles.
Okay. I mean, let's just say this, right? He submitted Bartosz Fabinski. We knew that was going to happen. He landed 3 of 7 takedowns against Antonio Arroyo. So we know that there's a work right there against a big frame guy. He landed 2 of 3 takedowns against Jacare Souza. If Uriah Hall defends all these takedowns, my mind will be blown. It can happen, but like seeing him do what he did to Jacare Souza, and then even Eric Anders, who's a pretty physical guy, landing 2 of 5 takedowns, it's just like, I think he's going to take Uriah Hall down once. It's just what happens after that.
Yeah, that's my big question is what happens if he gets that one takedown? does he get the fight to the ground? Fantasy cruncher groups. One group that I did create was with the main event and co-main event, looking for at least one fighter in those between those 4 fighters in every lineup.
I like that. I definitely like that. And then it's like, pick your favorite inside the distance fights. And that's how I would create a second group. And that Cowboy Cerrone Jim Miller fight is one that I am viewing as a priority. I feel like the Joe Lozon and Cowboy one probably had more likelihood to be finished. The Jim Miller one, Jim Miller is really tough. And I could see this getting stretched out, but I'm still acting like it's going to end inside 1.5.
Before we get into the listener questions, do want to let you know about the sponsor of this show, and that is PrizePicks. Of course, be sure to use that promo code AWESOMO when you sign up over there at PrizePicks, as they will match your first deposit up to $100. And of course, you can use all the great tools we have over at Stokastic.com to help build your lineups over there. And of course, we talked a little bit about the PrizePicks props a little bit earlier in the show, but when I talk about some of the ones that I like over there, you mentioned about the Robbie Lawler one, significant strikes. I do like that over 73.5. I do like the under Jim Miller, which is 7.5. I do label Jessica Rose Clark just because I look at her and I just say, man, why would you want to threaten the takedowns?
How many times do you sit there and start talking to the television? Because it happens a lot for me, especially when I'm watching fights. I find myself coaching them, and have to, especially when you have money on it. You're like, no, don't do that. What are you doing? And in women's MMA, it's more likely. And I will tell you that Jessica Rose Clark is surrounded by talented fighters and talented teammates. And this is an extremely winnable fight, but overlooking your opposition is real. And thinking that you're safe when you're going up against such an armbar snatcher like Stolyarenko is, it's worth GPP, man. It is definitely worth getting to Stolyarenko in GPPs.
Yeah, but we talked about their PrizePicks. I mean, that's one that sticks out there to me. I am primarily playing the fight time props here today. Yep. Targeting some fights. I like targeting that Jim Miller fight. I've targeted that Sean O'Malley fight. I targeted the Izzy fight. I like the unders over there. So be sure to check out PrizePicks. Of course, you can sign up, go to prizepicks.com, download the app in the App Store, and be sure to use that promo code AWESOMO for an instant first match deposit of up to $100. Sam, I feel like you're going into me and Pete's DMs on IG, as I literally sent Pete this video earlier today going, we have potentially got the Drake curse on Izzy, as Drake has put $1 million on Izzy.
I know. I texted my boys. I said, oh boy, I guess we're betting Cannonier tonight. And, I'll tell you what, Sam Pierce, thank you for all the support, and everybody out there listening. Thank you guys so much. If you're sending super chats, we truly appreciate it. Can't say that enough. I mean, Drake's curse is kind of hit or miss, but anytime that I see him betting on something, I tend to fade it. So I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a more competitive fight than everybody's thinking, but man, does he bet some ridiculous things and some ridiculous amounts, but good for him, I guess.
Bro, this is non-MMA related. I just saw this tweet come up here. Life hack. Bought a patio table at Home Depot. Didn't fit in my trunk. Got an Uber XL for $11. Delivery would have been $77. I never thought of that. That's an amazing life hack.
Jason's going to go shopping right after this. Goodness.
Bro, I was sitting here in the office watching fights, bro. I'm editing videos for tomorrow's podcast. I had a good interview with Danny Sabatello. We had about a good 20-minute conversation yesterday.
I can't wait to listen to that. And guys, make sure you check out Jason's stuff. He's been in the game forever. That's how obviously I met him. And my boy just texted me and he says, talk me out of putting $250 on Jim Miller first round knockout. It pays $1,500. So everybody's thinking the same thing, right? Like if Miller were to win, he's one of the best round one guys out there in the business. And Cowboy of late is terrible in round one, notoriously a slow starter. I think it's a common bet, and I do think that it's a viable bet. The amount, be careful, but that's why for GPPs, I'm circling that fight.
Bro, that is crazy value.
Right? I mean, isn't it? That's like, so my boys are value hunters, and we're always throwing out things and trying like the under half round of the Brett Cooper, Ray Cooper. the reporter on the PFL broadcast ended up bringing it up, and I was like, yep, I agree with that. I'm smashing it. And I did it. So it's a matter of just kind of going through each fight. And that's what I would recommend today from a betting standpoint, is like putting each fight under a microscope and thinking of like, what are the most logical ways of these fighters winning and what's the best value?
No question about it. Eddie, appreciate you. The super chat says must have core guys, DraftKings, GPP.
I have to say co-main event. Like I just don't see how that doesn't score well. Like that is my first spot for most of my lineups. And for a chunk of my lineups, I stacked it. I just I don't care. I just want to take the bias out of it. I want a competitive third fight between these guys, and I want fantasy points galore. So starting there, that has to be a priority for me. In the mid-range, I do think that the next fight of Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira is a very good starting point as well, because I could see that going one of two ways. Pereira via knockout, or Strickland using wrestling and getting a very dominant victory as well.
Bat Jones, I appreciate your super chat. I have no idea who Kevin S is.
Oh boy, Kevin S.
No clue who that is.
Kevin S. We'll have to see. Hold on. I know something's happening. Kevin S. I don't know.
There is no Kevin on the fight card. I have no idea you're talking about.
It's probably Kevin Sadler again. That's their go-to joke. I'm pretty sure he was like an old golfer or something. I don't know. It's a long bit.
Hey, look, we appreciate the super chat.
Yeah,
Richie, man, really appreciate you there in the super chat. He says DraftKings main GPP pick 3, most confident fighter to end up optimal, favorite dog to end up optimal, and favorite fighter to fade that's pulling ownership. And by the way, happy 4th of July, Richie, to you as well. Really appreciate you there in the super chat. So most confident fighter to end up optimal.
Okay, so Richie, I know I've already said this a million times. I appreciate you like crazy, and thank you so much for the support. I'd probably say Volkanovski. And you guys know that I'm a big Holloway guy. So for my second answer, favorite dog to end up in the optimal, it's still Holloway. And like, that's for me, how I think that fight is just going to be. You're talking about raising the stakes in a trilogy fight. These guys know each other. And I don't think that's going to result in them, being a little bit too careful out there. I think they're going to go out there and try to put a stamp on every round. And if it's like Volkanovski has takedown upside as well. So that's where, like, for me, that's my first two answers. How about you, Jason?
All right. Most confident fighter end up optimal. I will go Sean O'Malley. I just think the speed, the reach advantage he has in this fight, it's just going to be too much for Pedro Munoz. Favorite dog to end up optimal. I think it's got to be Max Holloway, just because of 5 rounds to work with. Look, the fight is closer than what the salaries and betting odds are on this one, first off. So I would probably say there. Fighter to fade that's pulling ownership. I'll go Brian Barberena.
I don't really get the Barberena love, other than just the environment of the fight and how reckless and crazy this could be. And maybe Barberena lands a shot, but he's been knocked down so many times. He makes a ton of technical errors. He has no takedown upside, no championship experience. So maybe he has less wear and tear on his body. And this is a situation where Robbie's just not the same fighter he used to be. I'm getting to Barberena, but not like the masses. I'm really not. So I'm letting other people get to that. And, that's kind of where I'm at as well. So good pick, Jason.
Yeah, I know there are some people kind of question our love for Robbie Lawler here today. I mean, look, to me, with Brian Barberena is, look, he is an action-packed fighter, no question. I just think that Robbie Lawler is going to take advantage of it. By the way, speaking of, it's no longer Sanford MMA, whatever the name, the new name sponsor of the Henry Hoof Gym is. Mentioned about my show tomorrow. One of the guys is Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa now training. That's one of the gyms he's now training at.
It's so weird though, because he like trains there, but also at American Top Team, yet they're rival gyms. But
no, he's not at Coconut Creek anymore.
I know, but it's weird because
he's training with Charles McCarthy, who has been his longtime coach, and McCarthy is at one of the northern ATT gyms, I want to say.
But
he told me he's spending every morning he's at Sanford or whatever the new name is.
Yeah.
Henry will not be in his corner for his fight in London. So McCarthy will be the one leading his corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird, right? Like, I know he's not at the main branch of ATT and he's at an ATT affiliate. It's just, I don't know. It's strange to me, but we have seen other fighters do that as well. And I wish that Sanford would just stick to one damn name so that like you could build the reputation of your team.
Bro, Sanford was a paid name. It was a sponsorship. I mean, look, like, hey, God bless her, able to get it, but yeah, it's yeah.
But like you want your team to be known forever. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like we don't want to be Team Swedish Fish unless like Swedish Fish is like paying us a ton of money. But like every couple of years we change it to a different candy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like have a name.
Hold on. I come to you and go, Floyd Marketing wants to sponsor Rogers Mixed Martial Arts Academy. I'm gonna give you $100,000 for the year. You ain't gonna take it?
I don't know, man. I probably would, but like,
of course you would.
But
come on, bro. You know you would.
I don't know. Yeah.
Don't make me call senior. I mean, look, I look. It wouldn't surprise me if more gyms try to go this route. But the fact is I look from the advertiser side. What do you get out of this? I don't know. I know there's been a lot of questions about who's going to break the slate. I think there's several candidates out there. Uriah Hall, I think, is a very good candidate to break the slate.
Who are we not talking about that can break the slate?
Brad Tavares. He's not a finisher. That's the one thing about Brad, not a finisher.
Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Dricus du Plessis too. I think that du Plessis has skills everywhere. Hits like a Mack truck, relatively durable, and has good chokes as well. So we have seen Tavares get knocked out in the past. And I do worry about him, dealing with that. I just think like if this goes 15 minutes, who do you think wins? I think that Brad Tavares wins over 15 minutes. If this fight finishes, it's pretty simple. Dricus du Plessis knocks out Brad Tavares. So it's, again, the 8,200, 8,000 fight, similar to the JP Bays and Cody Durden one. And every single week of my life, it's a nightmare. And you just have to have exposure to that salary range because it allows so many options for you.
Yeah, no question about it here. Let's see here. Let's get some other questions that have come in here. Someone mentioned they got a 4-fighter parlay plus 305. Izzy, Volk, Sugar, and Barber. I don't mind that one.
Yeah, I mean, there are nights when all the champs win, and there are nights when it is upsets galore. It's that Volk and Max fight, right? Like, is Max shot, or was his second effort the best effort that we're ever going to see? He says that he's got some tricks up his sleeve. Obviously, all fighters are going to say that, but I just can't wait to watch it.
Cowboy or Gabe Green?
From a confidence aspect, it would be Gabe Green. From a let's get different, let's avoid a popular underdog that could just get hit a ton, and let's take the vet who has a win over Jim Miller already. So, I mean, it all depends on your type of style. Like, I'm getting to Gabe Green, but that Cowboy Cerrone and Jim Miller, like, I don't know. I'd have to see the rest of your lineup. It's very close for me.
Pick two. There you go, like this one.
Oh, Lord.
Green, Cowboy, Tavares.
I mean, that's tough. Green and Tavares. If I had to, I don't like it.
Andrew says thoughts on O'Malley as a FanDuel MVP. I would like him. I think he's a good MVP spot. I mean, look, if Munoz has not been stopped, that's part of it. So this could be a fight where Sean just lands a crap ton of punches, and we've seen him do that. I don't mind getting there as an MVP.
Yeah, you're an O'Malley backer this week, and I don't blame you. I mean, I like him, but we shall see.
Joshua, appreciate you in the super chat. He goes, can you talk about Stoliarenko's background before the UFC? She's going to be better standing off her back.
I think that she has good hands. Like, her boxing's okay. It's always been just like her Muay Thai is not like amazing. And that's where I think a fighter in Jessica Rose Clark, if with the correct game plan, can shine. Like, we did see Alexis Davis drop Stoliarenko with a leg kick. And, you know, when fighters don't have the correct response to kicking attacks, it's a red flag to me. Like, you're a boxer in MMA and you need to be learning everything: kicks, knees, elbows, punches. And I do think that the more well-rounded striker is Jessica Rose Clark. She just has to believe in it. And that's TBD. We'll have to see if she believes in it. And off of her back, Stoliarenko is clearly has the better jiu-jitsu. I do think that the better wrestling lies on Jessica Rose Clark's side, though. But thank you, Josh.
Now, when you want to get access to Stokastic discounts and a first crack at beta testing new tools and features, you got to join the Stokastic MVP text program. Sign up by texting MVP22 to 660-656-4417, and you'll automatically be entered to win a free year of Stokastic Plus Platinum. For more information, simply click the link in the video description below. Sign up right now for the Stokastic MVP program. Of course, we are under just about 13 minutes here before we gonna hit lock. Matt over to Scored says, does O'Malley have pillow hands? I mean, look, he's not a one-punch striker, but the speed that he brings is tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, O'Malley's fantastic. And from a volume standpoint, you saw what he did to Moutinho. I do think that Pedro is going to be a tougher test. And I think that we could see significant numbers, right? And breaking the slate with a ton of shots. I think Pedro can get knocked down. I don't think that he's going to get finished. If he finishes Pedro Munoz, man, it's like, wow, that's a tremendous feather in his cap.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you're Munoz, I think you got to try to initiate the grappling this one. Bill asks, more DraftKings points, Izzy or O'Malley?
I'm going to say O'Malley.
I would go O'Malley there, just because I do wonder, like you mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, Izzy sometimes does like to play with his food a little bit, you know, and it's like you always say in a five-round fight, the last thing we want is a stoppage in the third round. You're hoping this isn't a first or second round stoppage, that Cannonier makes it to the fourth round there. Let's see here. By the way, this is the big cage, not the small cage, big 30-foot cage here tonight. Just if anybody's wondering that, in terms of that. Josh says Pedro needs to spam leg kicks like someone's first fight playing the UFC game.
I'm telling you, if I was in Pedro's corner and he's a part of American Top Team, so you already know that they've been practicing it. It's close the distance, chop that leg. Guy notorious for leg injuries and crazy situations happening to his legs. I think that he can do what Cheeto Vera did, but he's going to get hit in the process. He's got to set it up.
Misha's comment says everyone's underestimating Jessica I. This line is way too wide for a low levels women MMA.
Agreed.
I would not say we're underestimating Jessica I. We've just seen what Jessica I has looked like over the past couple of years.
But I think
okay. But what I understand the love for the price point and potentially her winning decision. But what is the ceiling fantasy wise for a Jessica I score?
Yeah, I mean, probably not great, right? Like probably like 80, mid 80s. And that's like being generous. And it all comes down to the construction of the other fights and the scoring, right? Like if getting to Jessica I at that cheap price range allows you to get to the best pound for pound, picks on the slate, then I think that even in a lull of a win, she can do enough. Like, I'm not convinced Macy Barber is a better wrestler than Jessica I. I think that Macy Barber makes mistakes, and I say it all the time. She makes mistakes, and she will succumb to position sometimes and get out scrambled. And She has a good motor, but against a girl who's been against so many different fighters. I just think like Jessica I looked decent against Jennifer Maia, landed 2 takedowns, has solid volume. If Macy Barber takes a round off, or if Macy Barber gets a little too lackadaisical, I just think it's close. I think it's a close one, and that's why I got to Jessica I, because I'm hoping that the lineups I put her in, those other 9,000, high 8,000 fighters come through for me.
Which underdog do you like the best? Green, Hall, or I?
Oof. I'm gonna say Green, and it's just like I don't really like any of them. I think I like Green a little bit more than those other two, though.
Yeah. Spencer, he mentioned that the Prize Picks has raised the fight time prop on the Cerrone fight, which would not be a surprise. I got to imagine everyone's whoa. Fight time prop on Jim Miller is now 10 minutes. I guess people are smashing that over at 7.5, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, interesting.
Guess I'm gonna put another Prize Picks play on that one.
Yeah.
I would, that would really floor me if that fight hits the third round. That it would floor me.
Yeah, I mean, it would really, really surprise me. But man, when two fighters have fought each other in the past, there's a feel. I always said familiarity, and like I think that Cowboy's going to be familiar, and he might be a little bit better than going up against a new somebody else like Joe Lozon or something.
Yeah, just try and check my lineups here before because we are about under 8 minutes here before lockout. Make sure I've got everything I want in there. Get through some other questions here that we have not asked here so far. A lot of these we've already gone through here. Marco says Barberina Lawler is a huge fade for me. I will say this in terms of DFS, I didn't find myself getting there a ton.
I kind of forced myself to get to it, right? Like the other ones like attracted me, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get to that fight and that fight. I'm like, all right, well, that's kind of how casuals, including myself, like when I'm hand building, how everybody's going to flock to it. Which fight am I leaving out? And like that Lawler Barberena one is kind of like, oh man, okay, maybe I'm glossing over it, and maybe everybody else is too.
Yeah. FanDuel, Strickland and Tavares, or Alex and Storolenko? Might go the second one.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the second one. I don't really like either one of those, but I'm going to go to the second one if you're playing just complete boom city.
Joshua says, thoughts on fading O'Malley, captain on FanDuel, worried the fight is going to go the distance. Look, if it goes the distance and it plays out on the feet, Sean O'Malley's going to land a ton of strikes.
Mm-hmm. I think he looks good on FanDuel. I really do. FanDuel, strikers, DraftKings, wrestlers. I don't see why I would get away from O'Malley other than trying to be different.
Yeah. I feel like we're not talking about Ian Gary at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm just not a believer in his skill set. It comes from Sanford MMA, surrounded by talented guys, good striking background, solid judo. I do think that I think he can and will lose a fight within the next couple of years. And he's young. So it's just a matter of, is Gabe Green the guy to do it? I'm not entirely sure. But hey, we appreciate, we got 500 people in here. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Only a couple minutes left. If you can hit that like button, get us over 120 likes. We truly appreciate you guys.
Nate's got a FanDuel cash question here. Ask which one to prefer.
Okay.
Volk Holloway plus Cerrone or Munoz. Holloway plus Tavares.
Oof.
I mean, look, I don't mind stacking Volk and Holloway.
On FanDuel, we're talking?
Yeah.
I don't think that you can really stack it how you can stack it on DraftKings, just because max is 15 on FanDuel. Yeah. So it's like, I think you're boxing yourself out a little bit, where there's going to be other 15 or 15, 14 or 16 even fighters in that range that are going to be victorious. That's why he's a DraftKings play.
Joshua says, ask me, do I think Modafari would beat Jessica I? That'd be an 8,208,000 fight, by the way.
I say no. I think Jessica I would win, but that's a great question.
Yeah, God.
Ooh, I like this comment from Darren Henton. He says, I get a Jordan Mean feeling from Ian Gary. I have to tell you, I really liked Jordan Mean when he came into the UFC. I was like, oh my God, like I like everything about the kid. So Darren clearly knows his mixed martial arts and has some good memories of some old fighters that, he's drawn some similarities to.
Izzy or Munoz DraftKings GPP? That's a tough one.
I'm going to go Izzy. I don't hate Izzy this week. I don't. I think that the stakes are raised, man. 5 rounds to knock out Cannonier.
I'm just thinking of from a fantasy score aspect of the higher ceiling. Munoz just goes out there and just wrecks Hall in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd probably side Izzy there, but yeah,
I think the safer play is clearly Izzy.
Yeah.
From a quick win bonus, it's Andre Muniz because he wants that quick round 1 submission.
A great comment here. It says if Volk comes out with a wrestling plan, Max's fantasy score will get reduced to him being less aggressive in striking. That is a great point.
Yep, great point, buddy. The GOAT Ramus. Good observation and good thought. Very true. Like you can't score fantasy points if you're getting controlled on the mat or forced to defend takedowns. So, nice one.
Of course, we just got a couple moments here before lock is going to hit. We got almost 500 people in here. If we can get over 200 likes, man, me and Pete would really appreciate that. Of course, subscribe to Stokastic right here on YouTube. Of course, we got shows for each and every day. Of course, tomorrow we got MLB shows. I'll be on the NASCAR show as well. So really appreciate if you hit that thumbs up button, man. That really does help us out a ton. If we can get that over 200 before we get out of here, I really would appreciate that. Favorite prelims fight tonight? Just in terms of a fight aspect, taking
Jason's
GPP.
First fight of the night. He cannot wait for it. He's going to have his popcorn ready and he's going to have his little Diet Coke hanging out.
You changed, bro. You changed. Favorite fight, Jalen Turner, Brad Riddell. Clearly. On the prelims, that's my favorite fight.
Yeah. I mean.
From a fight aspect.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
The thing is look, so there's times where we can crap on some of these UFC fight night cards because they're just not great fight cards top to bottom. This fight card top to bottom is tremendous.
Yeah. And that's why it's difficult, right? Like there are weeks where we are having an easy time picking this one and that one because it's kind of mismatches in a way. These are super competitive. I cannot wait to see what the optimal lineup is going to be like. And hopefully it's a Stokastic member, one of you guys listening right now.
What does scare me is these first 2 fights.
Mm-hmm.
Is if what happens if the winner of these fights goes out there and gets 100 plus points. That's what scares me because I don't have much of them.
Yeah, I mean, the first fight, I can see it getting a ton of points. The Macy Barber Jessica I one is one where I kind of, unchecked it. And I was like, all right, if I'm getting to one person, I want it to be the underdog just because of the salary play. So I hope Macy Barber doesn't have a career performance tonight.
Sam Pierce bringing in the Pete versus Sugar.
Now that is the most ideal matchup for me is from like a stylistic standpoint. A lifelong striker, like that'd be all day. I would accept that all day long.
Yeah.
But I think a couple leg kicks and Homeboy's legs are going to snap. So
look, and that's always going to be the biggest question mark on Sean O'Malley.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be like, if you're fighting Sean O'Malley, that is what you have to test.
Yeah.
Joshua, people take it down.
Yeah.
No, Joshua, here's what would happen. I'd be with Pete the night before the fight. We'd be, chilling. And I'd be like, all right, Pete, what's
way I'm shooting takedown.
I go, what's the takedown? What's the game plan? Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna snap these leg kicks. And then 20 seconds in, he's shooting for a double. I'm going, what the hell, bro? What's this conversation we had last night?
Bro, yeah. All right, we're locked. So best of luck, everybody. Enjoy the fights. Have a great holiday weekend. Everybody be safe out there. And can't wait to see the screenshots at the end of the night.
Of course, if you're a member over Stokastic Plus, I will be in Discord all night long and be sitting here in the office watching the fights. I'm sure at some point the adult beverages are going to come out. At some point they're going to come out. Yeah. Not quite out. I'm drinking the water right now, man. I got to hydrate, Pete. Got to hydrate. Hydrate's important, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know you're not the big consumer of adult beverages.
Yeah, I mean, there would definitely be some this weekend, and I cannot wait to sit back and watch these fights. Let's make some money.
Yeah, just before we get out here, I just want looking at one of the bigger GPPs over in DraftKings, just kind of look at some of the Max Holloway, 46%. Wow.
Should be. Yep, he should be.
Jim Miller, 24%. So this is in the 50K to first place. Just looking at my lineup here.
Yep.
That's interesting. Pedro Munoz, 11%. Interesting.
Wow. That's, yeah. Jessica Rose Clark, 14% in mine. So I'm like, whoa. That's
Duplessis, almost 48% ownership.
That's a little light.
That is a little pricey, but appreciate everyone checking out the Live Before Lock show. We really do appreciate everyone hitting that thumbs up button. Really do appreciate it. All the super chats. Of course, we'll be back next week on Thursday for the strategy show for the UFC Vegas 58 card, which I believe is RDA and Fiziev.
I think so.
Pretty sure that's one. Then, of course, the following week will be UFC Long Island, then it's UFC London. So appreciate everyone tuning in here. And that is going to do it for us. We will talk to you next week right here on Stokastic.com. Have a great night, everybody.